May the Force be with me to be able to watch all these movies before December 18th. Anyway, hey there guys, what's up? It's Autobot Mike 18 here, back again with another old movie review. That is right, guys. The time has finally come, okay? You guys should go out and celebrate, you know, throw a party. Because I have finally not only watched this movie for the first time, but I am finally reviewing it on my channel. You guys do not know how many comments on YouTube I've gotten of people asking me, Mike, have you seen this movie yet? Mike, have you seen this series yet? Mike, when are you going to review this series? Mike, what are your thoughts on this movie? Okay? And it's not just on YouTube. I've been getting Facebook comments, Instagram comments, all over the place. People have been asking me, have you seen this movie yet? And the answer, finally, guys, is yes, I have seen this movie, and I'm reviewing it now in this video. And of course, guys, judging by the title of this video, you guys know what I'm going to be reviewing in this video. And of course, it is the classic, the original, the thing that started it all, the original Star Wars. That's right, guys. I finally watched the original 1977 Star Wars in its entirety. Not like I've ever seen bits of it before and just haven't gotten to watch the whole thing. I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. I have never watched Star Wars, the original, until a few days ago. I know. I should probably get beaten up because this movie came out in 77, okay? Now, I've only been on this earth for 19 years, but that's irrelevant. I had at least all those years to at least watch this movie, and I'm just watching it now. Why? Because Episode 7 comes out in December, so I have a lot of catching up to do, as you guys can tell. So yes, I watched this movie, and this is the original Star Wars. I did not watch the prequels. I'm not watching the series in order of episode number. I'm watching it in order of how they were released. So I watched the first original Star Wars. I'm going to watch Empire next, then Return of the Jedi, and then I'm going to watch the prequels. Then I'll be finally caught up, and I'll be able to watch The Force Awakens when that releases in December. But yes, and like a billion of you begged me, if you're going to watch Star Wars, you better not watch the prequels first. But don't worry, I didn't. I promise you guys I didn't. So guys, Star Wars, where do I start? I don't know. There's so many places to start. Star Wars was released in 1977, and it was directed by George Lucas. And it basically changed the game, okay, when it was released. It's one of the biggest summer blockbusters ever made. It's up there with the movie sitting right behind me. Some may even look at it as a better movie, to be completely honest. Everybody and their mother knows the name Star Wars. It's a household name. I mean, the entire world should know what Star Wars is, even if you haven't seen it. The name itself is so popular. I mean, this film was so big when it opened, and it's still big now in 2015. People still talk about it as one of the all-time greats. I mean, this movie had such a large impact on society and pop culture in general, in the media. I mean, everybody and their mother talks about Star Wars. It's Star Wars, okay? I mean, the movie has spawned several sequels, prequels, an upcoming sequel trilogy, animated sequels, animated TV shows, I mean, toys, video games, books up the wazoo. I mean, it's Star Wars, okay? So, of course, I obviously watched it this summer, and I'm watching all of them this summer. I'm only probably going to review the first 3 films, the original trilogy. But anyway, with that said, let's finally get into the plot synopsis behind Star Wars, because there's a lot to discuss. Obviously, I'm not going to go spoilers, but I don't want to. This will probably be long anyway. Who am I kidding? And sorry I don't have a poster or anything, guys. I had to watch this movie online on my laptop, because the anthology is currently way overpriced at $80. When that comes down to about $50, hopefully one day, if I'm ever lucky, I'll own that. But right now, I'm just going to watch them all online because I got to binge them because I got to finish before The Force Awakens. But the original Star Wars, of course, is set in a galaxy far, far away. And we have 2 sides. We have our good guys, our Rebel Alliance, and then, of course, we have our bad guys led by the evil Darth Vader. And their, of course, title is the Empire Alliance, the Galactic Empire Alliance. And led by Darth Vader, as I said. Their mission in this movie is to obtain stolen plans that are stolen by the rebels, Princess Leia, played by Carrie Fisher in the movie. They have to obtain these plans because they want to use a giant ship known as the Death Star, to basically rain havoc on the universe and eliminate the remaining rebel threats. But Princess Leia has stolen the plans, and she's given them to two droids who go by the names of R2-D2 and C-3PO. And they escape the clutches of the Empire, and they inadvertently run into a young farm boy who goes by the name of Luke Skywalker, played by Mark Hamill in the movie. And along with pilot Han Solo, it is up to them to stop the Empire from obtaining these plans, and they also have to rescue Princess Leia, who's been captured by the Empire. Because if these plans fall into the wrong hands, it's it for everybody. And that is their mission in this movie: rescue Princess Leia, keep these plans away from the Empire before they use it to unleash havoc on the universe. And there we have Star Wars. So guys, that is the original premise behind Star Wars. That's basically everything. Oh, and of course, how could I forget? Obi Wan Kenobi, of course, is going to be a part of this team. Legendary Jedi. And he's played by Alec Guinness in this movie. And Han Solo, of course, is played by the timeless Harrison Ford. So, Star Wars, guys, as I was watching this movie, I'm going to be honest with you. I knew nothing, almost next to nothing about Star Wars before I watched this movie. And that's honestly a good thing, to go into a movie blind. But I knew nothing about the universe, okay? The only I knew the characters' names, and I knew Darth Vader, because everybody knows who Darth Vader is. And I knew massive spoiler from the upcoming sequel that I'm not going to spoil, but it's been spoiled by mass media, so there's really no stopping it. But going to this movie, I felt dumb because I had no idea that the Stormtroopers were working with Darth Vader. I didn't know the names of the two sides. I didn't know that we had the Rebel Alliance and the Empire Alliance. I didn't know these things. So yes, of course, I feel kind of dumb. And yes, I am 19 years old and I'm just learning what these things mean in the Star Wars universe. But what can I say, guys? I mean, how do I even go about reviewing a film like Star Wars? I don't know. I'm gonna do my best because it's Star Wars. But I'm also gonna try to pay respect to it because it's Star Wars. But this movie, guys, is revolutionary. Point simple. Star Wars is a timeless classic film that was not only groundbreaking and not only defined its genre upon its release, it defined the genre of the space adventure film, okay? It defined the sci-fi genre. It defined even what family films are nowadays, okay? I mean, without Star Wars, we wouldn't have half of the movies we have. So it's very important to pay respect where respect is due, or give credit where credit's due, as they say. Because Star Wars is what started them all, and this is an utterly fantastic, highly entertaining space adventure that I could not take my eyes off of. I was invested from the first scene on. I love nearly everything about Star Wars, and it only makes me ashamed of myself that I have just finally seen this movie now in its entirety. But this is one hell of a ride, guys. Oh my god, there's just so many good things that worked with Star Wars. One of the best things going for this movie has got to be the story. Okay, and it's not just the story of, this poor kid, Luke Skywalker in this case. He aspires to be something greater and gets involved in this adventure and has to stop the evil side from, taking the lead or, basically winning in general. I mean, yeah, we've seen that story before. But what I'm talking about is the universe and these characters, because that is what's so original about Star Wars. And that's what makes this just such a highly inventive, creative, original masterpiece of a film. It's how original the concept is. I can imagine George Lucas and all the filmmakers involved in this movie sitting down and carefully thinking about the universe and what characters they had. I mean, think about it. They created lightsabers. They created these droid names and what they looked like, and specifically names of characters that are just iconic now. Han Solo, Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader. These are all iconic household names that they sat down, took their time and their honest effort and thought to create. And that's one of the biggest praises I have to give Star Wars. It's just how inventive they were. You know, the Millennium Falcon, just various ships and weapons, lightsabers, Chewbacca. Who in their right name thought of that name for that character? Okay? I mean, it blows your mind how creative and how out of the box they went with this movie just to, make something different and original, and it utterly paid off. And not only does the story really work, not only is it highly exciting, it's a bit suspenseful here and there. I mean, the scene where they're trying to rescue Leia, that's just awesome, okay? It laid the foundation for half of the films we have nowadays, and that's the biggest praise I can give Star Wars. Apart from the story and the dialogue, which worked so damn well, and the iconic score, the performances, which I'll get into briefly, the other thing I must touch upon, and on a technical level, of course, is all those technical components that were put into the movie to make it even more enjoyable by far. And you guys know what I'm talking about when I say the props that they use, the costumes, everything, the practical effects, the actual, there is not very, I watched the special edition. I believe I watched the special edition. Unfortunately, I did not watch the original 1977 version. So of course this blew me away, putting myself in the mind of a guy who watched this in 1977. So yes, the effects in this movie are groundbreaking. But of course there's not hardly any CGI in this movie because it came out in 1977. They did what they could with the materials they had at the time to create these effects, but they mostly used practical effects and robotics and everything. C-3PO, that's not CGI, or R2-D2. That is a man-controlled, unit that they had. R2-D2. There is somebody in a Chewbacca costume that looks so good. That's not CGI, and that's one of the best things I have to give to this movie. It just adds to a certain authenticity and just makes everything a hell of a lot more realistic. And yeah, there are bits and bits of this movie that feel dated, but in the end, the effects that they had, the practical effects, the props that they used, the mechanical props and everything that they used, that does not feel dated in the slightest to me, and that's one of the best praises I can give Star Wars. It just, worked so well for me. Those practical effects, they just blew my mind. The final scene, this has got to be one of the greatest scenes in the history of cinema, by the way, where the rebel fighters are trying to destroy the Death Star. I'm sitting there asking myself, how did they shoot this? Where did they shoot this? How did they create this look? How do they do that? It's when movies can blow your minds like that, that's when you know you're in for a good treat and a good classic film like Star Wars. Real quick, getting to the performances. Everybody is great in this movie. This movie was nominated for multiple Oscars, not performances, but in general, like Obi Wan Kenobi, Alec Guinness, who was great in the film as Obi Wan Kenobi. It just proves how good of a film and how mind-blowing Star Wars was when it came out. He is great in the film. Mark Hamill was perfect as Luke Skywalker. He's just this very misled, kind of ambitious farm kid. He doesn't know who his parents are, does not know who his father is until the next movie, and lives with his aunt and uncle. And I just love the moment where the sun is setting and he's just staring out into the sky. That's one of my favorite scenes of the whole movie. It perfectly it captures what the film is trying to say about the character of Luke Skywalker, and it's perfect. Mark Hamill's great. He's so likable. He's just oh my god, he's so good in this movie. Harrison Ford as Han Solo is just dynamite as well. I mean, he's so like cocky and so like, yeah, I got this, but he's just such a badass at the same time. He's so suave, and he like, oh man, what is not to like about Harrison Ford in this movie as Han Solo? The decisions he makes, his character arcs, same with Luke, just perfect. And then Princess Leia, played by Carrie Fisher, she is not the typical damsel in distress that you'd find like Mary Jane in the Spider-Man movies, just to give an example. She actually does something with the plot. She is the one that put the chain of events to begin with in this movie. She started everything. She gave the plans to C-3PO and R2-D2 that started the whole movie. Darth Vader is a terrific villain, and I cannot wait to see him explored in the next movie, because I know they're going to go even more in depth to the character, or at least I feel they will. But he's terrific. He's menacing. He's a badass. Just perfect. He's threatening. You know, he's actually a worthy opponent for Master Jedi Obi Wan. Oh my goodness, so many wonderful things working with Star Wars. The story is just timeless. It's a great, fun adventure story that is so exciting and packed with action sequences that are so well shot. George Lucas did a terrific job behind the camera. The score by John Williams, much like that great film behind me, Jaws, is so iconic, and just everybody knows the theme, the Star Wars theme. Dun 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 dun. I can't hum the Star Wars theme. It's perfect, guys. It perfectly fit for this movie. Just an utterly perfect score to begin with, and one of the greatest I've ever heard. It's so fitting. It's beautiful at times. Is there anything else I've forgotten? Everything worked with Star Wars, guys. This is a film that broke ground and just completely changed the game, and that is some of the highest praise I have to give Star Wars. And for that reason, it's hard to find a flaw in this movie, let's just say that much. I'm going all the way. I think everybody saw this coming. Star Wars gets an A+ from me, or a 10 out of 10. This is a perfect movie. It's a perfect movie anybody should be able to watch, sit down and enjoy. It's fun, it's entertaining, it's got a great story to it, great characters, great universe, great writing, just overall great props, great weapons that they put together, costumes, everything, practical effects. Everything worked for this movie. The score, everything. If I had to complain about one thing about this movie, it's this. The transitions they used from scene to scene, it didn't work for me. That's the only thing that didn't work for me. That started to get on my nerves. You know, like the little like the you know, like the little editing transitions that you would add into the movie in post. Only thing that bothered me about this movie. I really hope that Empire doesn't do that. Other than that, I'm not gonna hold that against this movie though. I'm giving this movie such a high score because of what it did, because of how it changed the game, because of how important it was, how important it is to so many people. It was so many people's livelihood. It was their childhood, and it defined many movies, you know, it defined genres, it defined what movies are today, and we wouldn't have half the movies we have without Star Wars, and I acknowledged that as I acknowledged that as I watched the film, and that's why I love this movie. It's a classic, okay? How could anyone not like Star Wars, okay? Anyway, guys, there you have it. Those are my thoughts on the original 1977 Star Wars. You are welcome. I finally reviewed it for you guys. What did you guys think of Star Wars? I know everybody's going to say they love Star Wars because it's Star Wars, and I know I said it throughout this entire video, but I don't care. It's Star Wars. Thank you guys so much for watching. Sorry this is so long, but it's, again, I'll say it here. It's Star Wars. That's why I had to talk so long. But thanks so much for watching, guys. And yes, I will be reviewing Empire and Return of the Jedi, so stay tuned for that as well. Bye, guys.